18 movies and 10 years have all been leading up to the biggest Marvel movie ever. So, let's talk about Avengers Infinity War. Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and today I will be analyzing and reviewing Avengers Infinity War. Infinity War came out in theaters on April 27th, 2018, and it made over $257 million in its opening weekend, and it made over $2 billion at the worldwide box office throughout its entire theatrical run. It stars Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Evans as Captain America, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Josh Brolin as the villain, Thanos, and many more. This movie is so huge, it's packed to the brim with stuff, there's so much to talk about, so let's get right into it. The opening Marvel fanfare is absent from this film. It shows all the other comic book pages and all the other characters revealing the Marvel Studios logo, like all the other films, but this sets the tone of the film from the very beginning. I remember sitting in the theater and hearing the Asgardian distress call, along with the music, and just thought, oh no. The movie opens right after Thor Ragnarok. Thanos' ship has already been attacking the Asgardian ship. Thanos and his Black Order has already killed half of the Asgardians and pretty much defeated Thor and his friends. This opening scene is just about perfect to set up Thanos and the Black Order and how powerful he really is. In this scene, Thanos just kicks the Hulk's butt, and in all of those movies so far, Hulk has been an almost unstoppable force. Thor sees one of his best friends and his brother die at the hands of Thanos, and this sets up a great arc for both Thor and Thanos in this movie. There are so many characters in this movie, but the two main characters really are Thor and Thanos. And this first scene expertly foreshadows the end where Thor and Thanos will face off once more. This movie really just moves. It's a long movie at about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I won't say that doesn't feel long, but that by no means is an issue. There is a lot that goes on, and it is constantly moving. It's constantly taking us somewhere, either by the dialogue or by a huge action set piece. This scene with Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Bruce Banner, and Wong is exactly what I mean. Really, this is a scene of a bunch of exposition. It's meant to catch the audience up on who these guys are and what's been going on, what's happening, what just happened, just in case you hadn't seen the other Marvel movies. But it fits right in and it seems organic. My fiance went with me to see this in theaters, and she's only seen 1 or 2 other Marvel movies, and she got it. We really should give a ton of credit to Marvel Studios and their team for making a movie as big and important as Infinity War, so accessible to the average moviegoer. As Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian show up and the heroes prepare for the fight, this kicks off another important character arc for Bruce Banner. Banner and the Hulk are really like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing. After Thanos beats Hulk, Hulk refuses to come out and fight. Mark Ruffalo, the actor playing the Hulk, said in an interview that since the movie rights for the Hulk are so complicated, it makes doing a solo Hulk movie so hard, and what they're doing is they're giving him a character arc through 3 movies, which include Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and the currently untitled Avengers 4. This fight also includes Spider-Man, and this is how the 16-year-old hero joins the fight against Thanos. Some of the stuff is really crazy, and I love how Iron Man puts it.
He's from space. He came here to steal a necklace from a wizard.
I mean, he's not wrong. This movie is funny. Marvel movies, have a reputation for being funny, and even with such a dire and dark movie, they find a way to fit in humor where it's not distracting and it doesn't take away from the severity of the situation. Some of these characters are kind of comedic. Spider-Man talks a lot and he makes a lot of quips, and that's just who he is. And of course he can be serious, but he is more of a funny character, and the same with Iron Man. He's super sarcastic, but he is heroic at the same time. This is where the Guardians find Thor as they respond to the Asgardian distress signal. I do need to mention how well the Russo brothers and the writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely incorporate all of the different tones of all of the different characters. Really, this movie shouldn't work. There are way too many characters, too many storylines, and different tones from the different franchises, but they make it work. Thor has such a different tone from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Guardians movies are unique and they have a specific tone, but they find a way to make it work with the main characters of the Marvel Universe. Their humor also works very well, and I think Thor was the perfect pairing for them at first, because in this scene where Thor meets the Guardians, it's a pretty serious scene. Thor's just found after half of his people were killed, and now the Guardians are made aware that Thanos is finally starting to collect the Infinity Stones. But there are bits of humor scattered that really works. The whole running joke of Thor calling Rocket Raccoon Rabbit is just really funny to me. The little comments that the other characters make during the conversation just helps to add to the film, and it helps to add to their characters even when they may have limited screen time. From here, Thor goes to forge his new weapon along with Rocket and Groot, while the rest of the Guardians go to the place called Nowhere to stop Thanos from getting another Infinity Stone. Next, we catch up with Scarlet Witch and Vision, who is an android who has the Mind Stone, and their relationship really works. You feel for them throughout the movie, and this fight scene with Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight is great. The Russo brothers really put on a great sense of urgency into every single fight in this movie. But my absolute favorite part of this sequence is when Scarlet Witch and Vision are cornered in the train station and Captain America, Falcon, and Black Widow show up to help. Oh man, that shot when Cap steps out of the shadows after catching that spear, the theater I was in went nuts, and that shot always gives me the chills. Captain America, in my opinion, is the heart of the MCU, and to see him after all he's been through, especially with Civil War, it's just really awesome. I have to mention how important Gamora is to this movie and to many of the characters in this movie. Like mentioned earlier to Thor, Gamora is the adopted daughter of Thanos. We have learned her background through 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but we learn more of how she was actually adopted via flashbacks in this one. She was separated from her mother, and Thanos likes her fighting spirit and takes her from her planet where, he does his thing and kills half the population. He trained her to be a killer. The odd thing is, you can really tell that they both in some way care for each other. I love the scene where Gamora thinks she kills Thanos when they get to Nowhere. He tricks them with the Reality Stone. And like I mentioned earlier, Gamora is super important to the story because her and Peter Quill are in love, but also she knows the location of the Soul Stone. This scene where Quill and Thanos has a standoff where he captures Gamora is really, really well done by all of the actors.
Let her go, Grimace.
Peter.
I told you to go, right?
Now? Really?
You let her go!
Ah, the boyfriend. No, daughter. You expect too much from him. She's asked, hasn't she? Do it. Do it! I like him.
And when I saw that clip in the theater and when those bubbles came out of his gun, you could just almost feel the air being sucked out of that theater. That was when I think everyone thought, how can the Avengers beat him? We see Cap and his team heading to the Avengers facility, and I just have to show you this line.
Mr. Secretary.
All is forgiven?
I'm not looking for forgiveness, and I'm way past asking permission.
This is one of my favorite lines from Cap in the MCU. This really shows some more character growth from him. He's experienced a lot over his time of being a hero, and he's made difficult choices, but that's what makes Captain America Captain America. Cap is one of the most well-developed and well-written characters in the MCU, and you know, I would even say maybe in all of action movies. On the ship, Maw's torturing Doctor Strange. I think Maw's such a great villain. You know, Marvel has had some trouble with crafting well-written and interesting villains, but they've managed to put two very good ones in this movie with Thanos and Maw. The way that Maw speaks is so well done. He's just honestly creepy. And, you know, he's the one that goes around before Thanos and proclaims his greatness.
You have had the privilege of being saved by the great Titan.
He's, you know, like the best wingman that Thanos could ever ask for. In the fight in New York and in the fight on the ship, it also shows that he is a very powerful villain as well. I also love this part with Spider-Man and Iron Man on the ship.
This isn't Coney Island. It's a field trip. This is a one-way ticket. You hear me? Don't pretend you thought this through. I know you didn't. You could not have possibly thought this through.
You can't be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood. Okay, that didn't really make sense, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Also, again, these character interactions are just fantastic.
We gotta turn the ship around.
Yeah. Now he wants to run. Great.
I want to protect the stone.
And I want you to thank me now. Go ahead. I'm listening.
For what? Nearly blasting me into space?
Who just saved your magical ass? Me.
I seriously don't know how you fit your head into that helmet.
Admit it. You should have ducked out when I told you to. I tried to bench you. You refused.
Unlike everyone else in your life, I don't work for you.
And due to that fact, we're now in a flying donut, billions of miles from Earth with no backup.
I'm back up.
No, you're still away.
I really love the tension between these two, between Strange and Iron Man. They are both kind of hot-headed characters who want things their way, and it makes sense that they would butt heads. The next scene is Gamora and Thanos on his ship, and this really shows their strange relationship. I love the interactions in this film, and scenes like this are great ways of showing really how Thanos thinks. He thinks killing half the population is the way to save them. Let me show you.
We were happy on my home planet.
Going to bed hungry, scrounging for scraps. Your planet was on the brink of collapse. I'm the one who stopped that.
You're insane.
Little one, it's a simple calculus. This universe is finite, its resources finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist. It needs correction.
You don't know that!
I'm the only one who knows that.
Thanos eventually gets the location of the Soul Stone from Gamora after he tortures Gamora's sister Nebula. And I can just say how intimidating and scary Thanos is. I mean, I will talk about it in a little bit, but Josh Brolin is absolutely fantastic. This next clip I want to show you is a bit that always comes to my mind when I think of this movie.
So dead brother, huh? Yeah, it could be annoying.
Well, he's been dead before. You know, this time I think it really might be true.
And you said your sister and your dad,
Both dead.
but still got a mom, though?
Killed by a dark elf.
A best friend?
Stabbed through the heart.
You sure you're up to this particular murder mission?
Absolutely. No rage and vengeance, anger, loss, regret, they're all tremendous motivators. They really clear the mind, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, but, I mean, this Thanos we're talking about, he's the toughest there is.
Well, he's never fought me.
Yeah, he has.
He's never fought me twice. And I'm getting a new hammer, don't forget.
Well, it better be some hammer.
You know, I'm 1,500 years old. I've killed twice as many enemies as that, and every one of them would have rather killed me, but none succeeded. I'm only alive because fate wants me alive. Thanos is just the latest in a long line of bastards, and he'll be the latest to feel my vengeance. Fate wills it so.
Mm-hmm. And what if you're wrong?
Well, if I'm wrong, then what more could I lose?
This scene is so powerful. He basically goes through all the loved ones he's lost over the years, and just the hurt in his voice, man, that's just such a standout scene to me. Chris Hemsworth is outstanding. This is acted expertly. That is something that people can attach to with superheroes, these powerful characters who experience loss just like us, and they cope and they push on. Scenes like this, scenes of vulnerability and real honest feelings, along with the great feats that they can do, is why people love comic books and superheroes. Thor gets help from Eitri, and the rest of the Guardians go to Thanos' home planet of Titan on Nebula's command, and they meet Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. And once again, credit to the writers and the actors for this dialogue.
I'm gonna ask you this one time. Where is Gamora?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
The Marvel movies do such a great job of developing their characters and keeping them consistent throughout all of their appearances. I have to mention Chris Pratt. He's one of my favorite actors. He really took an unknown character like Star-Lord and gave him a personality, and it works really well. This is where the film begins to turn to the third act. I think because of all the different events going on, because of all the different storylines we're following, it makes the traditional three-act structure a little hard to follow. It's not as clean and as defined as other films, but I do like it. This movie does such a masterful job of keeping the story moving and keeping me interested. From that, we see another Thanos scene where we get to see just how ruthless he is.
No. This isn't love.
I ignored my destiny once. I cannot do that again. I'm sorry, little one.
At this point in the film, I was beginning to think, Thanos isn't really going to do this, is he? He isn't going to get all of them, right? Josh Brolin is fantastic, like I mentioned earlier. Scenes like this with Thanos are really special because of Brolin's performance. I can't imagine anyone else playing Thanos now. He brings such power to the role. He really makes us believe Thanos. It would be easy to make Thanos just a big mustache-twirling villain who just wants to kill just because. But they didn't do that. They actually took the time and they gave Thanos a personality. They gave us time with him. I feel like we as an audience connect with the character of Thanos more than we have with any other Marvel villains in the other 18 movies. After Thanos retrieves the Soul Stone, the battles on Titan and Wakanda begin as the heroes, warriors, Outrider alien army, and the villains get into place. The Russo brothers have really improved as filmmakers and as directors of action. If you look at the Winter Soldier and then you look at the Battle of Wakanda and the Battle on Titan, it's a completely different story. I'm not saying that the action was bad in the Winter Soldier because it was good. It's just the way that it was presented, filmed, and edited, just Infinity War shows that they've developed a much better understanding of action set pieces. After Thor ignites a dying star and forges his new weapon, Stormbreaker, we get one of my favorite moments in this film and in the MCU as a whole.
There's too many of them!
Oh man, my theater absolutely erupted with applause when we saw this, and my jaw hit the floor. This shot, that moment, that score gives me chills every time. Back on Titan, we also get many great moments of action and great special effects in a big superpower battle involving our heroes and Thanos. The uses of Doctor Strange's magic and the Infinity Gauntlet's power are so creative and really cool. I love seeing the heroes work together and use their specific skills. I also love how the filmmakers made this little physical thing that Thanos has to physically close his fist in order to use the Infinity Gauntlet. That makes it to where the heroes can kind of catch up a little bit and stay in the fight, as much as they can. They did a fantastic job with the tension when they're all holding Thanos down and they're trying to get the gauntlet off. The tension builds and builds, and they almost have it, and then Star-Lord finds out about Gamora, and he snaps Thanos out of his trance. My heart hit the floor. They were so close. When Thanos grabs the gauntlet, there was a pit in my stomach, and that's all thanks to how the tension was built up. In this entire last act, I was sitting on the edge of my seat. The film switches from the battle on Titan to the battle in Wakanda, and I just have to show you this.
Oh, by the way, this is a friend of mine, Tree.
I am Groot!
I am Steve Rogers.
That is pure Captain America right there. But I can say that a great testament to how well written this film is that every character has at least one moment. Coming into this movie, everyone was wondering who was going to die, and I, for one, sure thought I was going to be Iron Man, especially during his last standoff with Thanos. I love that last bit. Tony, who's just a man in a suit, made the most powerful being in the universe bleed. And talk about having a pit in my stomach. When Thanos stabbed Tony, the entire theater took a collective gasp. To spare Stark's life, Doctor Strange gave Thanos the Time Stone, leaving only the Mind Stone with Vision. From there, there's no stopping Thanos. He travels to Wakanda, and the heroes are no match. Scarlet Witch is forced to kill Vision by destroying the Mind Stone, but Thanos reverses it. There is a glimpse of hope when Thor hits Thanos in the chest with Stormbreaker. In the director's commentary, the Russo brothers said that if Thor had done like Thanos said and hit him in the head and killed him, then this whole movie is probably just seen as a Thor movie. But that scene completes the circle and the two story arcs that were set up in the opening of the movie. And like in the comics, Thanos wins. They actually did it. They actually did the snap. And speaking of heartbreaking, seeing all these heroes figured out they lost while seeing their friends die or cease to exist, man, this movie really plays with your emotions. The saddest death to me was Spider-Man.
I don't feel so good.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm sorry.
Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. played that perfectly. I even started to tear up a little bit in the theater. I mean, how could you not? It's Spider-Man. It ends like the comics, with the heroes losing and Thanos going to a planet to sit and watch the sunrise. But man, what a ride. This truly was the biggest Marvel movie to date. It's really one of the biggest movies of all time. Infinity War is a fantastic film. This is what you think when you think of giant comic book summer movies. This movie shouldn't work. Like I said, there are too many characters with too many storylines, but it works. The script was amazing, and so was the directing. I really don't know how they were able to pull this off as well as they did. All of the actors were awesome. Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Josh Brolin, and Benedict Cumberbatch all stood out to me, but they all did a fantastic job. They played their roles perfectly, and the interactions they had were spot on. These actors brought these beloved characters off of the comic book pages and onto one of the biggest movies ever made. I have given Infinity War a ton of praise, and it definitely deserves it, don't get me wrong. But, of course, in my opinion, this isn't a perfect movie. The CGI is amazing, probably about 97% of the time. There were a few effects that I thought were a little questionable. They managed all the storylines really well, but there is a chance to almost forget about one. Specifically, the one that comes to mind is the one with Thor. He's gone for a while before he actually forges Stormbreaker. It is a little bit reliant on the previous 18 movies. It just hit the diehard fans harder because of the years of movies we have spent with these actors and these characters. If it hit the diehard fans like a ton of bricks, then it hits the casual fan like a half ton of bricks. That's still a lot of bricks, but it's just not as much. I would have liked to see a little bit more Black Panther, especially coming off the heels of his solo movie. He's just such a cool character, and I wanted to see him more. Other than that, this film is great. It deserves all of the praise I have given it over the past few minutes. and I would recommend it to anyone, and not just a comic book fan. It has something for everyone and handles the story and the characters masterfully. The action is great to go along with the inspired performances by all of the actors. Even with the few complaints I have, I cannot give it any less than an A+. No, it's not a perfect movie, but that's not always what an A+ means to me. This movie is my favorite of 2018 so far, and I find it really hard to believe that another movie will top it this year. This was everything I could have asked for and more, and I can't wait to see what Marvel brings us next. Once again, I'm Seth, and this has been my review and analysis of Avengers Infinity War.